Well, hi everybody. How are you all doing today? Well, thank you for coming on the party day of Ignite. We'll have a great conversation here and then you can go party. I am personally very, very happy to spend the next 75 minutes of my time with you. This talk means a lot to me personally. This set of features have been things that have been super important to a whole bunch of us that have been working on it for several years. And we are very, very proud to be sharing the latest and the futures in the external collaboration space with you. But before we start, let me just say, you see a PM, a program manager standing here, but you don't see all the smart engineers who actually worked on the features that make all of this possible. So I just want to take a minute to remember that. And let's just remember that there is an engineer behind every great shiny new feature that we share with you today. Thanks. So I want to immerse you in the next 75 minutes in one of the most exciting frontiers of collaboration that's out there. And we almost happened to stumble into this a little bit accidentally. So I wrote the first spec for external collab about 5 years ago. So if you don't like something about it, you can blame me. And if you love it, then I told you about the smart engineers who are responsible for it. But before we get started, actually, I would like to know how many of you have actually heard of the OneDrive for Business and SPO external collaboration features? Just raise your hands, please. OK, great. So keep them raised if your organization actually uses them. OK? OK? If you've personally used external collaboration features, please raise your hand. Yeah? OK, great. And now, if you have issues with it, if you have usability issues with it, please raise your hand. Fantastic. OK? And if you have IT, governance, security concerns about the external collab features, please raise your hand. OK, that's a greater number, so that's good. So this talk is about security, IT, governance, compliance of external collaboration. Right? I'm not going to talk too much about usability issues today. We need a separate special talk for that, and we can have that conversation separately. But today's talk is about that. It's about about IT, security, and governance. Okay? So I hope you feel that you are in the right talk. And the other thing is I have my colleague here, Dennis, who is sitting up front with a whole bunch of T-shirts. And I was thinking, how am I going to distribute them? Should I ask you to ask questions, blah, blah, blah. But the T-shirts, there's too many. And I don't think we have time for all those questions. So I'm just going to ask him to randomly throw a T-shirt in the audience once in a while, OK? And if the size doesn't fit you, keep it rolling and let it find the person whose size it fits. And all of you guys who have T-shirts in the end, come talk to me, because you have to tell me 3 things that we should do better in the external collaboration space. Does that sound good? Yeah? OK, great. So let's get started. So I wrote the spec about 5 years ago. And our goal was to just feel the temperature of the industry out there. Like, we serve super serious enterprises, very, very conscious about security. And our question was, well, if we just shipped something, which we used to call then share by email, right? If we just shipped that, and all it did was email a link to somebody, and they could create an account automatically and come in and sign in. Like, are people really going to buy into this? Like, is this going to happen? Right? That was the question that we wanted to answer. And turns out, at that point of time, when we were developing these features, there was absolutely no concept of an external user identity that can be placed in the context of a tenancy. Like, in an organization, the Active Directory didn't support it. Azure AD laughed us out of the room, literally. I mean, I remember my first meeting where it didn't go very well. And we didn't have too many of the O365 suite teams that were interested in it. They didn't really believe in the value proposition, right? So essentially what happened was we ended up building everything we needed from the platform side to the UX side to everything. We ended up building it on our own. In fact, I had to find out how we were going to send email. The external sharing email, the most important thing is email, right? And we didn't want to use the SharePoint SMTP server, not because it doesn't work, but because in order to have email delivered safely into somebody's inbox, turns out you have to have relationships with the internet service providers. Okay? if they don't recognize you, the email goes into the spam folder automatically. So we had to figure out how to solve that problem, because if email didn't work, none of this is going to work, right? So we started from there. We built up everything from scratch. And actually, you probably still see it. The email that comes is on behalf of the user who sends it, and it's some Microsoft online service. I found that we had a digital marketing team that used to send out these announcements, and they were advertising. So clearly, that email delivery was very important. So we just built on top of it, and that's how the email system was built. So we did all that. And then, of course, the feature had a lot of warts. The first V1 of the feature had a lot of warts, and you all told us about it. So thank you for that. But then the surprising part was how much adoption there actually was. I mean, I remember starting from year 2, we used to have about 100% growth year over year. There have been years with 300% growth of the number of external users who are in the directory. Okay? So clearly, we had touched a nerve. Clearly, we had identified that one need that we had actually not even aware of. We thought, just try it out, see if it works. But turns out that that was an unmet need that large enterprises have. And in speaking to large enterprises, we learned, and now it seems obvious, but 5 years ago, it was surprising. We learned that no large enterprise, no matter how large it is, no matter how complex the security situation is, especially if they are in an industry that is aided by software, no company is an island. The greater the complexity of the work that organizations have to do, the more they have to work with other companies. Okay? And now it seems obvious. No man is an island, no company is an island, companies are people too, so great, it all makes sense, right? But the thing is that this feature, which is just a V1 of something that worked on email only, zero security controls, all you could do is turn it off or on, people are latching onto it. Why? Because it's like finding water in a desert, right? You're not going to care if it is clean, or you just need water, you drink, right? So these companies were latching on to this set of features, and that was the eliminating factor. And we talked to a lot of these companies, we talked to a lot of IT organizations, and they actually told us we were on the right track, but we needed to do more. It needed to be more usable. It needed to be more secure. It needed to be governable. It needed to be something that people had audits and reports and all those things. And we couldn't do that without platform support. We had done everything custom, right? We didn't have AAD support. We couldn't do that. But we used this data to get AAD onboarded onto this mission. We used this data to get Exchange, Yammer, Delve. Some of this work is still happening, but any of you who have been to collaboration talks today, you've probably heard some mention of guest collaboration. In fact, I happened to walk into a talk about sharing, and a lot of the questions in that session were about external collaborations. And I have the presenter right here. Thanks for coming. And I would want, and it was a great talk. There was a lot of questions about external collab, and we need to talk, and you need to tell me what else we can do better. Fantastic. Okay. So, but when we got AAD onboarded and shipped the first version of the guest platform that was built and supported inherently by AAD, this is what happened. Okay. There was a professor where I went to school who told me whenever somebody shows you curves that look exponential like this, that look like hockey stick curves, don't trust them because they're lying. He said, these curves do not exist in the real world. Okay? Now, all I can tell you is I've looked over this data 100 times, and it is correct. This data is accurate. Okay? And this is what happened, is we, right there, started deploying the guest platform that was built on top of AAD. Okay? And we are just gradually deploying it. We deployed it one tenant at a time, one farm at a time. And this is the kind of adoption that we are seeing. And this is just users on that new platform, not the old users who already existed 5 years ago. And that graph would be even more unbelievable. So the thing is, there is need. There is growth. Okay? So what else do we need to do? My personal mission, and this is Microsoft's mission, but my own personal mission that gets me to work every day, is to enable users, people in different parts of the world, be able to collaborate across tenant boundaries, organizational boundaries, security boundaries, geographical boundaries, technology boundaries, right? Boundaries should not exist. This is not how we think about the world today. We don't believe in boundaries anymore. Technology should not also believe in boundaries anymore. Now, this needs to happen in an easy, safe, and secure way. That's correct. But boundaries should be obliterated, and that's our mission. At the same time, as IT professionals, all of you in the room are worried about keeping your organization's intellectual property safe. Many of you guys work for organizations where IP is everything. There's nothing other than IP. If the IP goes away, that's it. That's the company. Okay? You're all safe. You all worry about keeping that data safe, right? All of you are up at night because you think about data breach, you think about compliance issues with the industry that you're in, and you think about how do we prevent users from doing stupid things? How do we prevent them from accidentally oversharing? How do we make that happen? That's what you all worry about. And we do live in a very unsafe world, right? All of you are probably kept at night thinking about ways you can make sure that the Target data breach never happens in your organization, or the Sony picture leak never happens in your organization. That keeps you up at night. These are things that you worry about. And my mission is to make sure that IT can gain that control on that data and retain it, right? So I just said two things, right? I said that it needs to be super easy for users to collaborate across boundaries, and it needs to be super easy for IT, okay? So the question is that a contradiction? Can both things happen at the same time, right? Most people would say no. Right? Most people say, well, when IT takes over, things just like, I don't know, the usability sucks. I have to do MFA, sign-in completion rates drop, my whole experience sucks, right? That's what most people say. But we don't believe that has to be that way, okay? In fact, our main principle, something I believe in, something Microsoft believes in, both in my personal life and my work life, the best outcomes happen when the right thing to do is also the easiest thing to do. That's when the best outcomes happen. So our goal is to make whatever the right thing to do is also the easiest thing. In fact, I believe that security and compliance can strengthen usability. Okay, I believe that can happen. In fact, talk to me offline about another one of my passions, which is heuristics-based authentication. I can tell you why that can happen. It will happen, right? The technology is there to support it. The right things will happen when you support, you use security and compliance to support usability. And at the same time, you can have the most secure system in the world, but if it is not usable, your people are not going to use it. Your users are not going to use it, right? It might be the most secure system in the world. Does not matter. They are going to find the easier path. They are going to find that app that you don't control, that you have no idea exists, okay? And they're going to educate you about it. There's going to be a shadow IT in your organization before you know it. And then you'll have to figure out how to get those guys onboarded to this new platform that we have. How does this work? Oh my God, that thing is so insecure. Does not support multi-factor auth. Oh, does not support the latest version of the OAuth protocol that does this access token and refresh token thing. Oh my God, what are we going to do with all that data that's sitting there? That's your problem. That's what you face, right? So usability is important for security too. If you want to keep your system secure, you better make sure that they are usable. But that's not, it's not against what you want to do. I have a lot of friends in Microsoft IT. They are here. I know their pain, right? All you're trying to do is keep your users safe and your data safe. You're not trying to, harm productivity, reduce productivity, make it impossible to work. That's not what you're trying to do. But the problem is, the products that you use put you in that situation. They put security at odds with usability, right? So you have to pick one or the other. And you pick security because that's clearly your main charter. The chief information security officer comes to your office and says, how are you making sure that, shows you that the big company that nobody thought it could be hacked was hacked, and shows you that and says, well, can you make sure in the next month's review you're telling me how you're doing it, right? And so you're forced to make a choice that is based on security. We believe at Microsoft that we will produce that product that will not make you take that tough decision, okay? We believe that we will be able to enhance usability by supporting and respecting compliance and security. And that's what we are doing. That's the principle we are applying towards this external collaboration stuff that I'm going to share with you today. So what are our goals? There it is. Fantastic. Okay. So what are our goals? Our goals are that your data, Microsoft has to be the safest place for your data, right? Not among the safest, not also ran, the safest place for your data, okay? But we also want Microsoft experiences to be the most intuitive, easy, and understandable and delightful experiences that your users can have. That's our goal. Are we there yet? No. We have a long way to go. But the thing is, we will get there. And today, I'll show you some demos that give you a direction, your sense of the direction in which we are moving, sense of velocity. Some of you might have been in the SharePoint conference last year. This stuff is going to look like, oh my God, that's a lot of stuff to do in a year. It has happened. We are not there yet. We'll continue to do it. And we need your feedback to help us get better. Okay, so it's easy to say your feedback is important to me. I'm always amused when you call somebody and they say, well, please stay on the line. Your call is very important to us. You're waiting on the line for an hour. Well, if their call is really important, your call is really important to them, they wouldn't make you wait, right? But this is not this is not lip service. Your feedback makes our products better. Listening to you makes us win in the marketplace. So this is benevolent self-interest, if you will, right? I want to listen to you because your ideas make sense, and your ideas will make us get better. And it's not just better. We want to be the best, right? And so keep your feedback coming. And you've told us a lot, and we have listened to a lot of what you have said. Okay? We are going to talk to a lot of these issues that I've heard many, many, many times. I talk to service engineers every day. Everybody on my team talks to service engineers every day. Okay? We know this, and we have been working on this. But there's one thing that I can just knock out of the way right now, which is the last point that you see there. I want to make an announcement that there is absolutely no limit on how many external users can be invited in your organization at all. There is absolutely none. You can invite as many as you want. There's not a sense of license breach. Can I do this? 10,000 users, 5,000 users? No, there's no limit, right? You can invite as many people as you want. We are also providing you ways in which this can be governable. This is, you have the auditing and reporting that you need to make it understandable. And we'll talk about some of that now. Okay, so before we talk about all the new features that are coming, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about, at the level of architecture, right? At the level of how do we think about external collaboration as a whole? We started off in a sort of an experiment where we said, let's just try this, let's see if it works. But thanks to all the feedback that we have gotten, we have actually really thought about what external collaboration means. And I want to share that with you today so that you have that in your mind. And that's the direction that we're going to go. This is our charter, the one that I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's assume that you are working, your company is composed of finance, right? Okay? Finance companies need to work with real estate companies. Turns out if you need a big house, you kind of need to borrow the money from somewhere. Unless you are one of my friends who got a $1.5 million home with cash down, but he's a freak, right? In fact, he was going to gift one of his girlfriends a house, and later realized that that's pretty much all she wanted from him, and so I think he calls her his ex-girlfriend now. But most of us need money to buy houses, to buy homes, okay? So there are people in this company, in your company, Contoso Finance, that need to work with the real estate agents, right? They need to collaborate with them. They need to create their plans, share what the different lending plans are, interest rates are, all that stuff needs to happen. But there are some people in your company that should not be talking to anybody in real estate. Those are your auditors, I think you call the underwriters, right? There's a fiduciary requirement that these guys not be talking to other people. So you have a set of sharing policies in your organization that govern who can share externally, who can talk to other people outside the company. This is just it does not matter who it is, but there are certain people who should not be doing that. And there are certain people who could be doing that, who should be doing it. It's their job. It makes them better at what they do, right? And so people who can't share, people who can share, and policies like that are that you apply irrespective of what the destination of the collaboration action is. It does not matter if it is Fabricam, if it is Joe's Bikes, they just shouldn't be sharing outside. So those are the generic there's a generic sharing policy layer that applies. And there's the other, which is company-specific sharing policies. For example, there's something that says, hey, company A is okay to share with. For example, in this case, the company A would be Fabricam. Fabricam is okay to share with because we work with them all the time. So these are company-specific policies that apply. So both of these together govern what can happen in terms of external collab, right? That's logically correct. Okay, so let's say one of these guys who's allowed to shares outside. We make a determination that he's one of those guys who can share with other people, and we detect that he's trying to share with Fabricam, and that's okay too. That's allowed, and that completes the sharing action. Whereas if this guy tries to share, you block him right there. You should not be sharing, right? Okay, we call this user-brokered but IT-controlled collab. It's kind of what guest collaboration is today. It's all user-brokered. Your users decide who they want to collaborate with, right? And IT wants some control there. It makes sense. It's the thing that we have today, okay? But then, that's not enough. There's a next type of collaboration, which is IT blocked. Okay, let's say there's the behemoth finance company. Okay, the government has restrictions that say Contoso Finance should never be working with Behemoth Finance because that's anti-competitive, right? It could be seen as collusion. So collaboration should absolutely not happen at any cost, okay? So these companies are blocked by IT. Now, this means that even, of course, the guy who can't share, the underwriter who's trying to share outside, he's blocked. That never changes. But the guy who can share, he can't share either. So that's IT blocked. This could be user brokered, but IT has set regulations that this just cannot happen. And then there's the next one, which is IT brokered. Okay, so you have the Tom, Dick, and Harry legal company that does your real estate law, okay, real estate litigation. But you don't work with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? You work with only a set of litigators in that group. So IT says, okay, I'm just going to make it so that you can work with this group of people, this group of lawyers, and you don't even have to invite them. They're just there. You can share documents with them if you like. Okay, everything else doesn't work, but these group of people, it's okay to collaborate with them. That's one. And there's another, where this might be your wholly owned subsidiary, Contoso Mortgage Incorporated. And these guys, they belong to your organization. Yeah, they might exist somewhere else. They might exist in a completely different geography. Okay? And you might just have merged with them. Therefore, your Active Directories are not in sync. But they exist, and you need to do work with them. So they need to be visible. They need to be people that you need to be able to collaborate with. And IT can broker that relationship too. So we believe this is the spectrum of external collaboration. These are the different kind of things that constitute external collaboration, right? And our job, our mission, is to enable each and every one of these. And we will talk today about advances that we are making that we have made since last year in each one of these areas. So stay tuned. I have some demos, some things you might have seen in other talks, but I want to pull it together in the context of external collaboration. That's what I want to do today. All right, so just as a reminder, okay, just as a reminder, IT brokered, IT blocked, user brokered, and IT managed. These are the different types of collaboration, right? Okay, so then the thing is, okay, if that's what we want to do, when will we know we are done? What does success mean? What does success mean to us, okay? Well, this is a bold statement, but Microsoft has the best assets that we can bring to bear. We have Azure Active Directory. We have Exchange. We have Yammer, Link. We have Office 365. We have the client apps. We have Outlook. We have the best assets that are there in the world. And we will bring them to bear to bring the best experiences to light. Okay? These will be the best experiences that your money can buy. That's our goal. Okay? All right. The next thing is we are fanatic about how our users are doing. Okay? We are fanatic about collecting data on engagement, metrics. And there's a whole section where one of our principal engineers will talk to you about what this data-driven philosophy, what this mindset means to our way of developing software. It's not new in the industry, but I want to give you an insight into what this means to Microsoft, okay? And by that, what does it mean to you guys? What does it mean to have people who are thinking about data and not intuition, okay? How do we get feedback? How are we responsive to what's happening out there? Till all those metrics that we are tracking, key metrics, are green, we are not going to be done, and we'll keep going. The next thing is, all the alerts that IT needs should be firing. If somebody tries to do something that is non-compliant, if somebody tries to do something that is insecure, we want somebody in IT to know about it and act on it. And we want IT to have insights into historical data about the life of your intellectual property. Okay? What happened? Who did it? Where did it go? How come the next map of the next chassis of my truck is available in sort of a different geography before we even release our own, right? How's that? How did that happen? Where did that come from, right? Till you can answer those questions, we are not done, and we'll keep going. All right, so what does this mean to you? Thing number one is to establish these kind of secure business-to-business relationships. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, okay? And it's very, very complex to do. It's fragile. The first thing you gain is let us do the hard work, right? And you can come to us and talk to us and sort of tell us why it's not good, and it's our job to fix it. So that's easy, right? So that's the first thing you gain. Now, you can collaborate as if your partner organization is one of your own. So it helps you do better, it helps you do more, it helps you get more done together with people that are important to you, and helps you focus on the actual business, whatever the business is that you're engaged in. And let the sort of software be like electricity. You just flip the switch on, it's there. All right, the other thing is we have a suite-wide set of capabilities, not just SharePoint, not just OneDrive, but everything, right? We are going to bring that to bear. So that's an advantage. And then uncompromising in experience and uncompromising in security. These are the reasons why you should feel good about, or these are the things you should be looking for in what I say, and talk to me afterwards if that's not what you see. So just as a quick reminder, a lot of you have seen this everywhere. I'm just going to tell you, user-brokered, IT managed, these are all the user-brokered actions that are possible today. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them. You already know them, right? Okay. So let me talk about a few IT controls that are available today. Thing number one, you can turn it off at various levels. At the tenant level, you can figure out how to do your, what is external users? What are external users, right? What is the notification that I give people when they're signing in? How do I tell people that there are external users in this site collection? That stuff, that's there. The next thing I want to tell you is, to make it easy for your users, you can say anybody who has managed privileges can share. You can turn it off anytime you want. Works on a subweb. We have done one other thing this year. This is in eDog right now, engineering dog food. Excuse me. And so lots going to happen before it actually ships out there, but I want you to see what it is that we are thinking, right? There's one button, just one button, that you can click and say, if you're not an owner, then you don't get a share outside. If you're a member, you only get to pick from the people the owner has already chosen in the site collection. Okay? This turns off, members can share. It also turns off access requests. You can do it at a site collection, it applies everywhere. So we believe it's an easy one-click button which admins can restrict sharing, right? Okay. So now admins can restrict sharing. They can say who can share, who can't share. They can say which companies they can share with, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that doesn't mean the guy who can share is sharing the right things with the company that he can share to, right? He could be sharing sensitive information, credit card information that should not leak from your financial company. How do we protect that? We need some heuristics that looks at the data that's going out and determines whether it is okay for that data to go out. So I'm going to demo a little feature that we call data loss prevention. Number 8 over here. All right, so let's say I'm in the, can you see that? Okay, great. Let's say I'm in the portal, all right? I'm going to the compliance center. I've opened up the Compliance Center here, so I don't have to look for it. There's this Data Loss Prevention tab. I go there. All right, hold on. All right, so turns out I had stale cookies. Stale cookies are not good. I don't think there's any situation in which any kind of stale cookie is good, right? So there's a policy that I've created. I don't want to go over creating that policy. You probably have seen it in other talks. In fact, Jack is probably here, and Alex is probably here. They did a talk. OK, so I go and edit it. I just want to show you what it says. So it says that, hey, I want to look at all my locations, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business. I have certain rules, OK? I am looking for certain types of information, and I want to do certain types of action when that information is found. So credit card numbers. If there is a credit card number, one or any amount of credit card numbers, then I want you to block access to that content when somebody comes and tries to see it. I want you to send notifications to the owner, the person who lost, modified, and the owner of the content, et cetera, right? That's the action, right? And that's what the policy says. OK, so then what happens? When I go to a document library which has some kind of the way this works is you set the policy and the crawler crawls the content. It detects that the rule matches. When the rule matches, then it flags the document. So it takes a little while for the crawler to run, but that's how it works. So then now I have this content. I'm looking at it, and it says, hey, access to this item is blocked. It conflicts with your policy in the organization. And I look at this and say, hey, what does this mean? What's this policy tip? It says, item contains the following sensitive information, credit card number. And I could say, as an admin, I could say resolve and say, either I'll delete the credit card information, or I'll just say, for this particular action that I'm going to perform, it's OK for that number to go because I'm being sued and I need this information to go to the lawyer. But if I choose to ignore it and I say, well, share it anyway, share it with some MSA, okay, and I say share, it tells me sharing action completed, et cetera, but here's what really happens. When I go to my my mailbox, I see that an admin user has shared a company list. Okay, I go on it, click on it, and then sign in with my Microsoft ID or MSA. It says, okay, sorry, you don't have access to this page. Ideally, I would like it to be an error that is more, it tells me what exactly happened. We'll work on that. But now let's say I say, okay, hey, I don't have access. And I request access. Okay. I go in here, and in my mailbox, it says, Sarath Subramaniam wants to have access. Now, maybe this is a whole, maybe the admin can say accept and bypass the entire policy restrictions. Well, let's see what happens. Admin says accept. It says access has been granted. Approve request. Sarath Subramaniam will receive edit access to the company list. Approve. Okay? Request approved. He has now edit access to the company list. Oops. Okay, so let's see what really happens though. Then I go here, click on that document again, because now the admin called me, and again my access is denied. The reason that is we don't use the authorization layer to make these decisions. There's a policy layer that sits on top of it. Even if you have access to some stuff, if somebody says, the policy of the organization says you should not have access to that stuff, it will not work, right? And so this is feature number 1 in terms of how heuristics can be used to prevent bad things from happening when external collaboration is enabled. All right. Of course, this also works for internal collab. So, yeah. Yeah, I would like to. So this is like phase 1 of it. One of the principles that we want to adopt is if something bad happens and the user does not have access to it, then he should know what exactly they can do to actually get access. In this case, there's nothing they can do. And I wonder if even revealing the fact that that document has credit card information is a bad thing. I'd like them not to know, right? But I'd like them to know this didn't happen by mistake. I want them to know, well, policy of the company dictates you don't have access to this stuff, so there's nothing much you can do about it, right? But yes, you're right. It should be more educational. We work on that. All right. So the next one is, all right, so now sensitive content is protected. The admin can come with a big heavy hammer and say, you can't share, this company is not okay to share with you. That's fine, that's all fine. Let us say that you are in the compliant path though, right? Things should just work, right? Okay, you share something with an external user. You gave them edit privileges because you value their input and you wanted them to add something to the document. But how do you prevent them from not doing things that you won't want them to do? For example, if you share with an external collaborator and you say, hey, you can edit this document, how do you prevent them from printing it and putting it on their notice board? That's a problem. So let me show you one way in which you do this. I'm going to show you before and after, okay? So let's say that here's a document. I would create it. Let me just create a document. So you know it's not, there's no funny business going on. New. Oh. Well, what's going on? Okay, well, just trust me. I'm just going to use an existing document. I'm going to say, okay, I want to share this with Subram at Microsoft.com. Right. This guy has already been invited in some other context, but this dialog tells me it's external to the organization. I'm going to share this document with the guy. Then I go to my Microsoft email address, and I see that document, right? So I'm going to open that document. Multi-factor auth. Those who are in the audience who want to enable this in their organization, we have it. And then I can see that, oh, hang on. I cannot print. I can only edit this document. So I can open it in Word and edit it, but there's no way I can print this. Why is that? If I go back to this document library and look at the library settings, here I see that here the Information Rights Management tab. I click on that. And there's a policy in there that tells me what users can do when they download the document. By the way, when I shared, I didn't even know that that was enabled, right? In fact, when a user is on a compliant path, we want everything to be invisible to them. The compliance should be invisible, IT should be invisible, and as long as they're in the compliant path, things should just work. When they stray out of this golden path, then the system should gently nudge them in the direction of compliance, and it should always be clear what actions have to be taken to be compliant. That's the goal, right? And so you saw that as a sharer, I had no idea this is happening. But really what is happening is there's an information rights management rule that is set up here that says do not allow viewers to print. By the way, we are working on this. Viewers here is not the way viewers are represented in OneDrive for Business or SharePoint, okay? Viewers, anybody can view the document. We're working on making the messaging align with what SharePoint does. So what you're seeing here is super early. It's just, really from our dog food environments, right? So when it comes out to the marketplace, that's what it's going to say. All right. So then that's information rights management. So just to summarize, we saw admins can do this heavy-handed business, but that doesn't mean anything because a totally compliant guy could be sharing with a totally compliant org the totally wrong thing. So then we said, okay, let's use heuristics to make sure that the wrong thing is not shared. All right, okay, fine, but the wrong thing was not being shared. What you shared was the right thing, but your guy who got your document could do more with it than you anticipated. That's where information rights management comes in. So that's what we showed you in terms of user brokered and IT managed collab. Those are the 3 layers of management that we just saw, right? And now I want to take a slight aside, a scenic detour, if you will. All right, this is about the role of data. It is transforming the way everybody does business these days. It's transforming the way any company worth its name thinks about product development. But I wanted to share with you what this means to Microsoft and why you should care, right? So I couldn't get Dwight, who's our principal engineer, who's leading our data effort, to come here because he's sunning on a beach in Florida. But I had him record this talk, and I thought it'll be good for you to listen to what we're saying from the horse's mouth.
Hello, my name is Dwight Kruger, and I'm a principal development engineer on the SharePoint team. Today, Sarat and I want to talk about how we use data and analytics to drive product development in our team. We want to understand, how are our customers using the product? Where are they struggling? Is the design I built scalable, fast, and reliable? Are users able to successfully complete tasks?
Is there an echo?
We need to clearly define what success looks like and quantitative ways to measure it. When defining and measuring success, two of the factors I look at are quality of service and quality of the experience. Quality of the service attempts to quantitatively measure the health of the feature as it was designed. Is the feature both fast and reliable? We calculate the reliability component by counting the number of successful calls. And we calculate the performance component by counting how often the system is slow, so-called performance violation. Quality of the experience goes beyond quality of service and tries to measure the experience itself. How easily can you use the product? We can measure quality of experience by telemetry and experimentation. So imagine that I looked at the external sharing workflow and I discovered that of the 5 steps, the largest user drop-off occurred at step 3. Well, why did they give up at step 3? Perhaps the UI at step 3 is confusing. I'll change the UI at step 3 and measure the task completion rate. Did a larger percentage of users who see that change complete the task? If not, my hypothesis is incorrect and I may be headed in the wrong direction. However, if more people complete the task, I may be headed in the right direction, and I can also look at other metrics like overall engagement. So we have actionable feedback from data that's available to us in days or weeks, not months or years. So now that I've shown you some ways we can use data to measure feature quality, let's talk about the kinds of data we collect in SharePoint and how they can lead us to even deeper customer insights. We remove all personally identifiable information before any analytics are done. In fact, no single user is really interesting for the purpose of data analytics. In the same way that Microsoft is not a good example of a typical customer, no single individual or company is a statistically valid sample of the entire community. I typically want to look at data across 50,000 or more users when doing analytics. I want to look at aggregated data, day over day, week over week, and month over month trends, and I want to look at anomalies. To illustrate how I could use data, I pulled the following example from Microsoft. This data represents users clicking on an external sharing link in about 2,500 email messages over a 2-week period. In this small data set, what surprised me? Well, we have some failures, those red bars, but that's not really the most interesting thing here. Up to 5% of the invitations expired before the recipient accepted it. All of these expired invitations are missed opportunities for collaboration. This data identifies a missed opportunity to collaborate and puts the question of quality of experience front and center. The data speaks with more authority than an engineer, a marketing person, or a vice president, because we can all look at the same data, run a targeted experiment, and see what the impact it has. I also noticed that people coming back again and again to the same email invitation. That green bar represents the number of email invitations clicked for the first time, and the blue bar represents the number of email invitations clicked in the second or third for subsequent time. And this suggests that people are more likely to use sharing email to access the document than they are using to accept the original invitation. Is that really what we want? They're leaving SharePoint and opening their email app to do their work. Leaving an app to complete your workflow is really not the best experience. So why should you care about this? Well, first of all, in addition to the user voice channel and conferences, we are listening to your feedback based on aggregate data. Secondly, we really can't provide the 99.95% availability without using data to detect and correct problems. We use data to feed algorithms that detect problems and automatically heal the system without waiting for us slow humans to be involved. When it is difficult to complete a task, we want to feel your pain. We don't want you to have to call us or come to a conference to tell us. You want us to improve that experience. Data helps us see your pain. Data is also really useful for your IT department. They can gain insights into your organization, how they use SharePoint. Surat, do you want to show them a real-life demo now?
Okay, so I'll show you a real-life demo. What I wanted to show you was use of data and insights to translate that insight to you, right? We want you, Is the mic on? Great. So we want you to be able to benefit from the work that we are doing to instrument the system. Okay? So what kind of things are possible? You remember the complaints that you all had about, hey, this happened, I have no idea who did it, I don't know when it happened, I don't know who shared with the external guy, I have no idea when he came into the system, right? Okay, so let's look at an example. So let's say I go to the compliance report center, okay? This is all dog food data, so, so bear with me because it might be a little bit slower. Okay? I'm going to go to View Office 365 Activity Report. Now, actually, there are two kinds of insights that are useful for a business. Okay, this goes back to a little bit of our philosophy on how we look at this. One of the insights is who, what, when, where, right? This is who did this, what did they do, when did they do it, and where was the impact felt. We are calling them activity reports. These are things that change over time. And it is not very interesting to know what is happening right now. You want to look at historical data, and you want cumulative insights from the system. That's what makes this question easy to answer. And then there's the second aspect, which is, what is the state of the system right now? How many documents are externally accessible? Who can view them? Right? I don't care who did it. I just want to know what's the surface, what's the exposure. Right? I'm not going to show you that part. We have e-discovery that we are using to help you write queries and answer those questions. But this part we'll talk about for just a second. Okay, let's say I go and choose a window of April 27th to today, early morning on April 27th to today. Okay, and I say I want to see all the actions that happened in the system at that time. All right. Here I see a whole bunch of stuff that people are doing, and whoa, there is an external user. They did something. How did they get invited? What happened? Okay, I want to look at when was the share link created? Okay, who did this? Well, turns out the admin of the site created a share link to this document, the externally shared document, and the user was some random number that I can't read. That's a bug. We should fix that. Okay. Let's say that I want to, actually, let's do this. When was the access invitation created? This is the guest user invitation, right? The shared link that you saw, actually, that's anonymous link generation, which is also interesting that it happened with that document. But here's the access invitation, the number of invitations that were created, okay? Who were they created for? That's the right-hand column. And which document were they created for? And that's this guy. Okay? So an invitation was created. Was it redeemed? Did somebody come back? Okay. We're going to go to access invitation accepted and see who accepted the invitation to collaborate. Turns out, by the way, because the acceptance happens in SharePoint, it shows up as the system accepted it. But that's not the column that's interesting. The column that's interesting is the right-hand column. Sasubram at Microsoft.com accepted an invitation to collaborate on 5/7 in the morning today. Okay? I was trying out the demo. And then on May 1, for April 28th, and so on, right? So that's the, okay, so who created these files? Who checked out? Who copied, downloaded? So there's a lot of information that you can mine from these reports. You can figure out who has access to what, why do they have access to it, and when did that happen, right? That's, and we are super proud that we are to be announcing this today. All right, so we talked about compliance, but the other aspect of this is the e-discovery-based reporting. And so let's just look at this and let's get to the next section of the talk, which is what is happening this year? What are we currently working on? All you saw right now were things that we have been busy doing from the SharePoint conference last year till now. So all of this stuff is in the past somewhat, right? I want to talk to you about what is the stuff that is upcoming? What are we busy doing? What are the engineers busy coding back in Redmond right now? Okay? And I want to give you an insight into that, and I want to get your feedback on whether you think we are in the right direction. Now, so let's look at the near future. The 3 key targets for us this year, the next 12 to 18 months actually, is that first, we want to expand the number of IT capabilities that are possible. Right? We want to grow our IT capabilities. We spoke about user-initiated and IT-managed actions. We are also working on IT blocked actions, and IT brokered. Those are all the three areas that we are actually busy right now expanding the scope of IT capabilities. We are expanding the scope of collaboration in two ways. The first way is we are expanding who you can invite. Not just one user, but a group of people. Not just a group of people, but the entire organization. We are expanding where you can do it. So there's an announcement that Sesha made on Sunday, and we'll talk about that. A demo. Sesha is right here if you have questions about hybrid extranet collaboration, which is that you have an on-prem deployment. How can you use the cloud to actually be able to externally collaborate with another organization? I'll do a demo. And the final thing is we are working on a new user model to support these capabilities. Why is the user model important? Well, I know this from experience, that without a user, without a group, and without AAD support, it's kind of hard to build a platform that scales. It's also hard to build a platform that gains from all the interesting work that AAD is doing. And it's also difficult to build something that's actually available to every single workload everywhere, right? So a new user entity model is super important, and I'll talk a little bit about it next, and then give you an example of that actually becoming useful. All right, so let's talk about the evolution of capabilities. All right, so you've seen these announcements. This is the scenario that exists today. Let's talk about what's coming this year. A lot of this stuff, we haven't blogged about it. We haven't, you've probably seen bits and pieces of it in other places. But this is stuff that we've been busy doing since last year, and I want to share what are we going to do in the coming year. So thing number one, you probably heard this, but we are making it so that when you do anonymous sharing, when you create a guest link for a document, that it is time-bound. The guy who shares it can say how long that link should last, and it goes away after that time expires. So that's thing. Thank you. Great. All right. So then you already saw this demo, sharing and data loss prevention, using analytics, using heuristics to make sure that the bad data doesn't leave the system. Guests can be added to Office 365 groups. You saw demos, or you saw announcements in the groups talk. Eric is here. If you have any questions, talk to us after the talk. We showed the restrict sharing to owners only. All of this is stuff that we've already seen in demos, so let's just skip. The next thing is we are going to make it possible for an organization to say, these are the organizations that only these organizations are allowed for external users to collaborate with. So Contoso can say Fabricam and only Fabricam. And in the context of Fabricam, you can do user-started, initiated collab. You can do IT brokered collab. All of that is possible, but only in the context of Contoso. It's a big feature ask that all of you had, and we're super proud to announce that you will have this pretty soon. In this calendar year, you'll have features where you can enable an allow and a deny list. Talk to us afterwards if you have any questions. Well, this was a major thing, right? Let me give you a little history of why Invited was invited and accepted did not need to match before, right? This was, again, the 5-year-old story where we wanted to support collaboration with anybody with an email address in the whole world, all right? Turns out that there were more Gmail addresses out there in the world than MSAs or Office 365 email addresses, right? So now, if we said, well, invited must be accepted for you to accept this collaboration invite, a large swath of our user base would not be able to collaborate on SharePoint at all. There's a second reason for this as well, where even if you receive an invitation to collaborate on SharePoint, that email address may not be the one that you want to use. Because the guy who sent you that invitation may not know that you have a preferred account that you like to use for these things. He might not know that you have an AAD account, right? You may not know that you actually work for Contoso, and that's your day job, and all he has used to collaborate with you is his Gmail address. But you may not want to use Contoso because that's work-related. So we want to give you the flexibility of choosing what account you want to use because that's your decision, not the other guy's decision. You shouldn't even have to care. These are the reasons why we allowed the invited not equal to accepted flow, but we heard a lot from you that says, well, I really like this feature. I'm a bank. I can't just let anybody in, and so we have enabled a feature where you can say, I want to restrict collaboration to these guys, and yeah, you will lose some of that population that doesn't have these accounts, but you can create an AAD, free AAD SKU with an AAD account and use that, or you can ensure that those guys who are coming to collaborate have AAD accounts already. So it works, it's secure, but it's an admin choice. We are going to release that this year as well. All right. External sharing emails are auditable. So we have financial companies that are using this, insurance companies that are using these features, and they came to us and said, I want to make sure that anything that a user communicates with anybody outside, I need to audit that, make sure there isn't coercion, or that there aren't other words in the email that aren't appropriate for business, right? And so we made it so that it's possible to audit external collaboration, text of the external collaboration email as well. That's coming this year too. External sharing can be turned off for specific OneDrives. Okay, this has been a huge thing that everybody has asked us for, which is that I have a lot of OneDrives in my organization, but I don't want everybody to be able to collaborate outside the organization, right? I want a limited set of folks whose job it is to be able to do external collab, to be able to do that. So we are releasing that, we are working on that, and that we want to announce that we are doing this. All right, now this is a major, major deal, all right? You clapped for time-bound anonymous sharing links, okay? This is actually the real important stuff, and I'm going to demo this. This is, thank you. Okay, so this is the stuff where big, large enterprises who have been doing on-prem to on-prem collab, these guys have spent a lot of money to establish trust between these two directories across the globe, right? There is a major investment they've made to make sure that partners from another on-prem organization that can come in and collaborate with them on-prem. Now, when we ask them to go to the cloud, it better work that way. It is a huge deal for these organizations. In fact, a lot of them won't move to the cloud without this feature. We have several of them here. This is a very, 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 very important part of the external collaboration stream, and we are proud to announce that we are going to make this possible this year. And I'm going to demo some of that working. All right. This has been something that people have asked us for a long time as well, okay? Which is that I have a guest in my organization, all right? Or I have somebody that works with me. He is my certified financial accountant. He does my number crunching. He needs Power BI access. He needs Power BI access to the doc. The only way I can give him that is by making him a member of my organization, right? And what does that mean when I make him a member? He can browse the global address list. He can find out my CEO's personal cell phone number. He can have access to employee-only information, secret information that should not be shared externally because it's a trade secret. He has access to internal-only documents, HR web, LCA web, all of that stuff. I have to do all that in order for him to crunch my numbers? That just doesn't sound right. So we made it possible that you can have a guest user in your organization and give him elevated privileges. That way, the policy applies, makes him a guest user, does not have access to a lot of stuff. At the same time, he can do what you really want to do for your business, right? The next thing is, and this is super important for large organizations as well. A lot of times you have guest users, and that always means that they must sign in with an external identity. Okay? You don't trust that external identity provider. If it is MSA or if it's some other consumer entity, you don't even know when they changed their password last. Is their password strong enough? Did somebody hack their account? Like, you don't want to deal with all that stuff. So what you want to do is have their password managed by you, have MFA enforced by your organization, because it's funny if your employees, the FTEs in your organization, who are legally bound to not do bad things, are required to do MFA, but these guys external to your organization, they can come in with their weak passwords and just collaborate, right? That just sounds silly. Well, this feature makes it so that you don't have to do that anymore. All right, the final thing is, people have asked us this, which is, hey, you know, I like this external collab stuff. I like these guest users in my directory. But I really don't want to invite any new guest users. I'll invite all the people that I need, and then I want to just say, turn off invitations, and the guys who have been invited should be able to use the system as is, right? I'll set up these relationships, and after that, it should just work. We are making that possible also. In fact, there are a lot of other announcements that I just couldn't find spot on the slide to fix. So talk to me afterwards, and we can, if you have any questions. What's coming up next? Well, let's just fly through this, okay? So this is stuff that we are busy working on. If you have any feedback about this, let us know. The thing that we want to deploy later, and later being we will announce the timelines when we have them. Cloud group-to-group collab. You can invite a group in another organization. I want to work with program managers in Fabricam, and I don't care if this guy is if this guy has access or somebody else who's a program manager. I just need program managers to have access. When this guy moves groups and is not a program manager anymore, I want him to lose access, right? That kind of stuff. Org-to-org collab, you want to be able to say that this organization, my subsidiary organization, I want these guys to be able to come and collaborate without anybody having to invite them. How are we doing on time? I think we are close to. So MFA for external user identities, time-bound external sharing, external user attestation, evolution of hybrid extranet, and a bunch of other stuff. All right. So then, oh, what? Okay, you have the deck. I'll send you the deck later. I'm running out of time here. All right. All right, so a bunch of things. This was something I really wanted to spend time with you, but we can talk about it later. There are 4 unique characteristics of a user, right? What is the relationship with the organization? Guess or remember. Is the sign-in account owned by the org or external to the org? Was he provisioned through DirSync, created in portal, invited, right? Is the capability that he gets a license that is assigned in SharePoint or OneDrive, or none at all? These are all the different properties. One of the key innovations that we have done, and a lot of people asked us when we were doing it what the value for that is that we made all of these properties independent of each other. None of them is dependent on the other one. So you can have a guest who has an identity owned by the organization, who could be provisioned either by inviting or through DirSync, and who can have high-value licenses. These properties are now independent, which means that this opens up the door to a bunch of scenarios. Some of you in this audience are interested in a member who's signing in with an external identity, who's provisioned through invitations, and who has E3 licenses, right? That is possible with this sort of independent user property model. Let's do a quick demo, and then I think we should open for questions. Actually, you want to see the demo, or should we just open for questions? Demo? All right. Well, okay, if the demo gods were to be with us. All right, so this one, let me set it up for you really quick, because it's a little bit confusing with the. All right, so what I'm saying here is cloud-to-cloud collab worked, on-prem to on-prem collab worked. We are making cloud to on-prem collab work with this model. All right, and you don't even have to have that for it, just for certain scenarios. Let's keep moving. Hybrid extranet. What does this mean? Cast of characters. There's a tenant. It's an EDOC tenant. Don't expect too much from it. There's an external user from a different organization, and there's one site with external sharing enabled, and another site without external sharing enabled. What you expect is this guy, the Brian guy, is special because he was actually DirSynced. He was not invited. He was DirSynced. He has higher value capabilities, and he's going to be able to access this site and not that site, right? So that's what you're going to see. All right, thing number 1. I go to the admin portal. Let me just show you that Brian is real. I go to active users. All right. I go down there. And there's Brad Miller. Sorry, that was Brad, not Brian. I don't know what I did here. OK, so this guy is an external guy to the organization, right? He has a different. I'm GUID 1. This guy is GUID 2. And he has been DirSynced because it says synced with Active Directory. All right? OK, so I'm going to go now to a site where external sharing is not enabled and show you that he can't be picked in that site. This is team.spod, that site. Okay? I go and say, I want to share this site with Brad. And, oh, is this the? All right, this is a site where external sharing is enabled. Let me just check that that's the case. I said team spodvnext.com. Look at the site there. Team spodvnext.com. No? sure I'm writing the right. Okay, this is the right guy. All right. Whew. I thought there was a problem here. All right. Whew. All right, so this guy is external to the organization, cannot be added to an internal site, right? Now let's go to a site where it is not an external organization, which is team.spodvnext.com/supplier2, okay? This is a site where external sharing is enabled. I can do the same, which is bmiller at guid-2.net. And this is outside the organization, but it doesn't prevent me from sharing, and I share. Now I open in private mode. I try to navigate to team.spodvnet.com. I sign in with bmiller at guid-2.net. It is federated to my ADFS instance. I put in my password, which is super complicated. NTOWN. And that is disabled because external sharing is disabled for the site collection. Now, I go to team, the supplier 2 site, and it works. So this guy, just to give you just a summary, right? This guy dersynced from your on-prem directory, doesn't look like an external user, is not signing in with an MSA. He's marked as an external user, especially by my admin, who says this guy is an external user, but I don't care, I can own his password or not, right? And I mark a site an external, it allows access, and an internal site does not allow access. So that's the demo. I think that brings us to the wrap-up section of the talk. A quick reminder of the roadmap. You have this in your decks. We will be sharing roadmap updates through, you have the deck, please click on the link. It's the Office 365 roadmap updates. And we have feature requests that we take super seriously through user voice. Before I open up for questions, though, there's one announcement I want to make. So we have a partner that has worked with us for some external collaboration scenarios in the audience. He has been trying to get 2 organizations to work together. He hasn't been able to use our external collaboration product yet, but one of our goals is, through the work that we are doing, is to support scenarios like his. He was actually awarded a governance award. Peter, do you want to come up and share your story? Sure. Yeah, maybe the mic. I don't.
The Extranet User Manager product, there we go, now it is, was awarded the Best of Breed award by the Metalogix SharePoint Awards here at Ignite 2 nights ago, so we're very proud of that. I have some material here if people are interested. Really, it's about, as Surat explains, how do we get governance around bringing those users in externally to your organization and managing those accounts. So the concept Surat has around the organizationally owned and managed ID for that external user and bringing them into Office 365 is exactly what we're doing. That particular case, we did it for the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies. So they've got 8,000 users across the province that want to come in and collaborate with them on their portal. We were able to do that in Office 365 simply because we didn't have to worry about paying for a subscription for those users, but we're excited about some of the changes coming around, as you say, disconnecting the type of user, type of access, what type of subscription they have and such, and how we fit that into that. So if you want to hear more, come on up. I'll stick around up here. Thank you.
All right, well, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you very much. We are super proud to be able to make all of these announcements. There's a lot of road still ahead of us, and we are super committed to making sure your users have the best usability and you have the best security governance, auditing, reporting, posture, anywhere, any product on the planet can offer you. Thank you.